Most people don't realize they're doing something wrong until they've been doing it right for weeks. They hear chia seeds are anti-inflammatory, so they sprinkle them into water or yogurt like a ritual. They feel proud of the consistency, and they wait for the magic to show up. But then nothing dramatic happens, and that's when the doubt creeps in, because the joint aches stay, the belly bloat stays, the fatigue stays, and the quiet fear grows that maybe all of this health advice is just marketing with better vocabulary. And here's the strange part. The chia seeds weren't useless. The chia seeds were incomplete. And that single difference is exactly why so many people over 60 get stuck. There's a pattern I've noticed in people who genuinely want to improve their health, and it always begins with hope. They aren't chasing shortcuts. They're trying to do the right thing. They adopt one superfood. They tighten their routine, and they expect inflammation to drop like flipping a switch. But inflammation doesn't work like that, because inflammation isn't a symptom, it's a state. And when your body is stuck in that state, it doesn't care how pure the ingredient sounds. It cares whether the biological chain reaction actually activates. So, if you're eating chia seeds and still feeling inflamed, it doesn't mean you failed. It means the chain reaction never turned on. That's the part nobody explains, because we've been trained to think nutrients work like light switches. You add the food, therefore the benefit happens. But your body is not a headline. Your body is chemistry. Your body is conversion. Your body is pathways that either open or stay closed depending on the conditions. And chia seeds are one of the best examples of this, because they contain impressive raw materials, but raw materials don't heal you unless your body can use them the way they were designed to be used. So let me say the truth plainly, because it reframes everything. Chia seeds alone cannot reliably activate the anti-inflammatory cascade inside your body. They need a partner nutrient, a catalyst that unlocks their metabolic potential. Without that partner, chia seeds can behave like a car sitting in your driveway with a full tank of gas, but no key in the ignition. The fuel is there, the potential is there, but nothing turns over, so you're left staring at a healthy routine that feels suspiciously like nothing. And this matters because chronic inflammation is not background noise. It's the engine behind weight gain that refuses to budge, metabolism that feels slow no matter what you do, insulin resistance that quietly worsens even when you eat clean, hormones that feel unpredictable, and aging that accelerates from the inside out. Inflammation signals your body to protect, to store, to tighten up, to conserve. But when inflammation drops, everything shifts, because your body stops acting like it's under threat. Your metabolism begins cooperating, your hunger signals stabilize, your brain fog lifts, your recovery improves. The same lifestyle suddenly feels easier. And it's not because you became stronger, it's because your body became calmer. So the real question isn't whether chia seeds are good. The real question is why they fall short when used alone, and what your body is missing in that moment. And this is where people usually lean in, because the answer isn't a trendy supplement or a complicated protocol. It's something simple, but the simplicity is deceptive, because it connects to deep physiology, how your body converts plant omega, 3 seconds, how your liver manages inflammatory molecules, and how your gut lining responds to specific nutrient combinations. Picture your metabolism as a relay race with 3 runners. Chia seeds are the first runner, and they show up with the baton, but if the second runner never arrives, the race stops right there. And when the race stops, you still have a healthy habit, but you don't get a powerful outcome. Most people never realize they're stuck in the first leg of the race because chia seeds taste like wellness, and marketing convinces you that should be enough. Now let's look at the first mistake people don't know they're making, because it's not obvious, and it's why chia seeds often feel overrated. Chia seeds contain a plant-based omega-3 called alpha-linolenic acid. And that sounds like a win, but alpha-linolenic acid is not the active anti-inflammatory molecule your cells truly need. It's a precursor. It's raw material. Your body must convert it into more active forms that influence inflammation, messaging, membrane repair, and immune regulation. Without conversion, chia seeds are nutritionally impressive but metabolically quiet. This is where the workshop analogy makes it clear. Imagine a workshop filled with excellent materials, wood, metal, tools, but no craftsman. The raw materials look impressive, but nothing gets built. Alpha-linolenic acid is the raw wood. The craftsman is your enzyme system. And those enzymes don't work at peak efficiency on their own, especially in a modern body that's already under stress. They need support. They need a catalyst. They need the right environment. Because if you're already inflamed, already insulin resistant, already sleep deprived, already oxidatively stressed, the conversion machinery slows down. It's not that the enzymes disappear, it's that their activity drops like a factory operating on half power because it's overloaded. And this is the first open loop you need to hold. If conversion is the gate, then the real solution isn't more chia. The real solution is better conversion. Because when you fix conversion, you unlock an effect that makes chia seeds feel completely different in the body. But conversion doesn't happen in isolation. Your liver plays a decisive role, and the liver is where many people unknowingly sabotage themselves. Your liver is responsible for processing fats, managing inflammatory compounds, balancing cholesterol, regulating blood sugar, and supporting detox pathways. So when the liver is overloaded, it prioritizes survival tasks over optimization. Think of the liver as an air traffic control tower. When the skies are clear, every plane is guided smoothly. But when the airspace becomes overcrowded, avoiding disaster becomes the priority. Optimization gets pushed aside. The liver becomes defensive, not efficient. And in that state, even a good nutrient can fail to express its full benefit, not because the nutrient is weak, but because the system that activates it is overwhelmed. This explains why someone can add chia seeds, drink more water, even improve their meals, and still feel like inflammation isn't moving. They're expecting chia seeds to do a job that requires a calm internal environment and a functioning conversion pathway. Without that, chia becomes a partial tool, not a complete solution. Now add the gut, because the gut is the third piece people underestimate. The gut lining is not just a tube that absorbs food, it's an immune interface. It decides what enters the bloodstream, how the immune system responds, and whether the body feels safe or threatened. And when inflammation is high, the gut lining becomes reactive. Chia's fiber and gel-forming texture can help hydration and digestion, but the deeper anti-inflammatory effect that comes from fermentation and immune signaling depends on the microbial environment. If the right microbes aren't thriving, the calming metabolites don't get produced at the same level. So again, chia is not failing. It's being underutilized by a system that doesn't have everything it needs to complete the reaction. So here's the core insight, and it changes the story in one sentence. Chia seeds are not ineffective. They are incomplete. They are one half of a biological partnership. And if your metabolism is strained, Your body cannot take the first half and complete the second half on its own. The real transformation happens only when the missing catalyst is present, because that catalyst activates enzymes, supports the liver's conversion work, and amplifies the gut-mediated anti-inflammatory signal. Now the tension rises, because you're about to see why this missing catalyst is not exotic, but the way you use it is everything. The catalyst that turns chia seeds from a passive superfood into an active anti-inflammatory tool is freshly ground flaxseed. Not flax oil, not whole flax seeds that pass through undigested, but ground flaxseed. Because form matters when you're trying to change physiology. This is where people get surprised, because they assume chia and flax are interchangeable. They're not. Chia provides alpha-linolenic acid and fiber, but flax brings something chia doesn't bring in the same way, and that something is what acts like the key in the ignition. Flax contains lignans, powerful plant compounds that influence enzyme pathways and interact with receptors involved in inflammation and hormone signaling. And when those lignans show up alongside omega-3 precursors, conversion pathways become more supported, so the raw material can finally be turned into something active. Imagine chia seeds bringing raw lumber to a construction site, and ground flax bringing the skilled carpenter. Lumber alone builds nothing. A carpenter alone builds nothing. Together, construction begins. That construction is the formation and use of active anti-inflammatory molecules, the strengthening of gut barrier signaling, and the calming of immune overreaction that makes you feel stiff, swollen, foggy, and tired. Now the story gets more interesting, because it's not just about omega-3 conversion. The chia flax pairing affects inflammation through multiple systems at once. And that's why people often feel a difference when they finally combine them, even if they couldn't feel much from chia alone. Chia absorbs water and forms a gel that slows digestion, therefore blood sugar becomes more stable, therefore insulin spikes are less dramatic, therefore inflammatory signaling linked to glucose swings begins to calm. That gel also creates a gentler environment in the gut, like a buffer, so the lining experiences less irritation. Flax enters differently. Instead of forming a gel, flax provides soluble fibers that act like fuel for beneficial gut microbes. Those microbes produce short-chain fatty acids, and short-chain fatty acids are powerful because they strengthen the gut barrier and reduce inflammatory cytokines that circulate throughout the body. So when chia slows the release of nutrients and flax feeds the microbes, you create a sustained fermentation and calming signal that neither seed reliably produces alone. Chia creates the environment, flax feeds the ecosystem. Together they restore stability. And now the open loop deepens, because inflammation isn't just a gut problem or a liver problem. Inflammation is a communication problem. It spreads like alarms through the body. When cells are stressed by poor sleep, unstable glucose, or oxidative load, they send distress signals. Those distress signals trigger immune activation. Immune activation raises cortisol. Cortisol raises blood sugar. Blood sugar raises insulin. Insulin pushes fat storage. And when fat storage increases, inflammation often rises further because visceral fat is metabolically active and inflammatory. That's the loop that keeps people stuck. The chia flax pairing interrupts that loop from more than one direction at once. It calms gut irritation, so fewer stress signals travel to the brain. It supports microbial metabolites that reduce immune overreaction. It stabilizes glucose, so insulin stress decreases. It supports conversion and membrane integrity, so cells communicate more clearly and panic less. And when the body panics less, it stops acting like it's under threat. Therefore, it stops clinging to energy and starts moving toward repair. This is why people often describe the shift as subtle but real. They don't wake up with fireworks, but they notice their belly feels less reactive. Their cravings feel quieter. Their joints feel a little less stiff. Their energy feels steadier. And the reason it feels different is because the nutrients are finally being used in a fully activated chain instead of sitting in the body as unused potential. But we still haven't reached the most surprising part, because most people think inflammation is controlled by food alone, and that assumption is exactly why they fail to get results. Your nervous system is deeply involved in inflammation because an irritated gut signals the brain signals stress response, and the stress response can keep the immune system in high alert. So if your nervous system stays stuck in fight or flight, your body stays in a defensive state even if you eat perfectly. This is why pairing chia and flax can feel like it calms you from the inside. A calmer gut sends fewer alarm signals, therefore the nervous system downshifts, therefore cortisol begins to settle, therefore inflammation becomes easier to lower. Now, we're about to bring this entire mechanism into a simple daily protocol you can actually follow, because if you don't know how to use this combination in real life, you'll either overdo it, underdo it, or do it in a way that cancels the benefit. And the biggest mistake is about timing, because the same ingredients can either work with your metabolism or fight against it, depending on when and how you take them. Here's what most people do. They add chia seeds to a meal that's already high in sugar or refined carbs, and then they wonder why inflammation stays. Or they take chia and flax in the evening when they're already grazing all day, and the gut never gets a calm window to repair. Or they use flax oil and think it's the same as ground flax, not realizing they've removed the fiber and lignans that make the entire partnership work. Or they use whole flax seeds and the seeds pass through intact, so the nutrients never become available at all. They did the healthy thing, but the biology didn't get the message. So in next section, I'm going to show you the exact way to combine chia and freshly ground flax so the partnership actually activates the timing that makes the effect stronger, and the one hidden habit that can quietly keep inflammation high even if you take the perfect mixture every day. Because once you fix that habit, the same two seeds stop being a trend and start becoming a tool. Here's the simplest way to understand why the perfect chia routine fails for so many people. You can have the right ingredients and still get the wrong outcome because the timing, the form, and the context decide whether your body treats this as repair or just more input. The body doesn't reward effort, it rewards signals, and after a certain age, the signals have to be clean and consistent because your margin for metabolic noise gets smaller. So if you want chia seeds to actually lower inflammation, the goal isn't to sprinkle them randomly and hope. The goal is to create one daily moment where your gut, your liver, and your immune system all receive the same calm message at the same time. That moment starts with form, because form decides whether the seed ever becomes available. Whole flax seeds often pass through the digestive tract mostly intact, which means the lignans you're relying on never fully show up where they need to. Flax oil removes the fiber and changes the effect completely, so you lose the microbiome, fuel, and much of the immune calming pathway. That's why the catalyst is freshly ground flaxseed, because grinding breaks the shell, exposes the lignans, and makes the fibers fermentable. So the body can actually use the signal you're trying to deliver. And freshly matters because ground flax can oxidize over time, which means a stale bag sitting open for weeks can turn a helpful food into one that carries oxidative stress. And the last thing you want when you're fighting inflammation is to add more oxidative pressure. Now we add chia, but not as a decorative topping. Chia needs water to become what it's supposed to be, because the gel is part of the mechanism. When chia absorbs water, it forms that thick, soothing matrix that slows digestion, stabilizes glucose, and creates a gentler environment in the gut. If you eat chia dry, you don't get the same effect. And you can even irritate a sensitive digestive tract because those seeds will pull water from wherever they can. So you hydrate chia first, and by hydrating it, you're essentially telling your gut, we're not rushing, we're not spiking, we're not stressing. And that calm message is exactly what inflammation responds to. So here's the practical pairing that activates the chain reaction without turning your day into a science project. You hydrate chia until it gels, then you add freshly ground flaxseed and stir it in, because now you have the gel environment and the lignin catalyst arriving together. When they arrive together, the relay race actually continues, the baton actually gets passed, and the biology can finally do what it was designed to do. If you want this to feel effortless, you make it a ritual that takes less time than scrolling your phone, because the power is not in complexity, it's in repetition. But here's the part people don't expect, because they assume the mixture alone is the cure. The mixture is only as powerful as the context you consume it in. If you take chia and flax and then follow it with a breakfast that spikes glucose, you just drown the benefit in insulin noise. If you take it and then graze all day, you keep the inflammatory loop alive, because the gut never gets a true break and insulin never